Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my channel. My name is Kenzie, and today is a very exciting day because we are going to be starting a new series called True Meaning. So basically what this series is going to be is we're going to look at different words that we see in the Bible and in the world, and we are going to really dig deep into what they actually mean and what they mean from a Christian mindset. I don't know about you guys, but I really like English. English is my favorite subject, and I've always been fascinated with different words and what they mean. So I'm really excited to do this series to really focus on what words mean that we use in everyday life and what they mean biblically. So the first word that we are going to take a look at is joy. Now, joy is a word that we hear a lot, both tied to the Bible and tied to the world. It's a huge buzzword around Christmas time, and people talk about joy all the time. So I googled the definition of joy, and basically it's just a feeling of pleasure or happiness. Another definition I found said that it was a state of mind and orientation of the heart. So those are both really interesting to me, and I really think it's interesting that the first definition used happiness as a definition of joy, because I feel like joy and happiness are two completely different things. The thing is, joy is much deeper than happiness. Happiness is fleeting. Joy is something that sticks around for a while. For example, I remember around my 6th or 7th birthday, I got a trampoline as a present, and I was so excited. I always had dreams of being a gymnast and doing flips all over the place, and so I got this trampoline, and I was so excited, and we set it up in the backyard, and it turns out that there were power lines in our backyard, so jumping on a trampoline was a very big hazard, especially for kids. So within just a few days of being so joyful for getting this trampoline, everything was ripped away from me because we had to get rid of the trampoline because me and my brother were probably going to chop our heads off on a power line. Looking back on it now, I could just see that I was really happy that I got a trampoline. But then I remember thinking that this was the most joyful time of my life. I was so excited. Nothing could ever make me happier than I was at that moment. But the truth is, as soon as that trampoline got taken away from me, that happiness went away and I was left back to where I started. You see, joy and happiness are two different things. Happiness is more affected by what's going on around you. You know, it's a super sunny day outside, so I feel more happy. But joy is something that's rooted deeper and something that we can only get from God. Now, I want to read you guys a verse from Psalm 16, verse 11, that really helped me to think about joy. You will show me the way of life, granting me the joy of your presence and the pleasures of living with you forever. We can see in that verse that we get joy from being in the presence of God and living with Him. And looking back on that verse, if you replace the word joy with the word happy, it probably wouldn't have as much weight to it. The thought of having joy because we are in the presence of God is something that's way different than happiness. You see, we as Christians have a joy that is much different than what the world defines as joy. We have a joy that can only come from God. And as Christians, other people should be able to see that joy in us and realize that we're different. I talked about in my last video about overcoming a critical spirit and being the light for Jesus. Now, I don't think being joyful means we have to be happy all the time. I talked about in my last video about my teacher that is just super happy, but I don't think that he possesses the joy of Jesus. I can tell, and I bet you can tell if you look around your church or people you know who are Christians who really have the joy of Jesus and really show that to the world. There's just something different about them, and it's really hard to explain, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're in a great mood all the time. It just means that they can truly see the joy in living for Jesus. There's a great verse in Psalm 119 that explains this perfectly. Joyful are people of integrity, who follow the instructions of the Lord. Joyful are those who obey His laws and search for Him with all their hearts. They do not compromise with evil, and they walk only in His paths. You see, in that verse it doesn't say, joyful are the people who are the most blessed, or joyful are the people who have the most money. It's saying that joyful are the people who follow God and live to honor Him with their whole lives. We might find happiness or pleasure in some of the stupid things of the world, like money or dessert, but at the end of the day, the only true way we can experience joy is for living with God in integrity, in obedience, and running away from all things that are evil. Alright, so now that we've defined joy and really looked at what it actually means from a biblical perspective, we need to talk about how you can get more of it. And I think the only way to truly receive joy is to spend time with God. Spend time in the Word, spend time with prayer, and then you will get to know God more and you will start to receive more of His joy. Psalm 19:8 says, "The commandments of the Lord are right, bringing joy to the heart. The commandments of the Lord are clear, giving insight for living." The more that we know God's Word, the more that we know His insights for living, and the more that we know His commandments, the better we can live for Him and make the right decisions, which will in turn give us more joy. Now here's the thing. Just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you'll feel joy all the time. Just as with life, there are highs and lows to Christianity. There are some stages in life where you feel really close to God, you feel really joyful, you feel like you really can see all of God's blessings. Then there's other times where you feel alone and you feel like God is nowhere to be found. But that's okay. That's part of the struggle of faith. But chances are, if we can't find joy, that means that we need to change our perspective. God blesses us every day. They might not be the biggest events in your life, they might not be super obvious, but I guarantee if you look, you will find them. Sometimes it's not how we wanted it to be, sometimes it's not in our timeline, but at the end of the day, God will always come through. So if we change our mindset to look out for the little ways that God blesses us, then I think we can experience more joy. Alright, so that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video on joy. Make sure to come back next week to see what word we're going to do next. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, leave a comment down below saying what your thoughts are, and subscribe to my channel. I hope that you guys can experience some of God's joy this week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!